Hi guys, today we're gonna learn how to graph the cosine. So first, let's start with the unit circle because this circle is going to give us a couple of good tips of the points that we're gonna need. So let's remember the unit circle is called the unit circle because the distance or the radius is equals to 1. Now this is x, this is y, let's remember this is 0, this is pi over 2, pi, and then this is 3 pi over 2. The other thing we need to remember is that the intercepts are basically a very important part of the graph. So here I'm gonna go ahead and do 1, 0, this is 0, 1, negative 1, 0, and then 0, negative 1. Beautiful. The other thing I need to remember is that x is equals to the cosine and y is equals to the sine. I remember this because they are in alphabetical order. So once I understand this, let's go ahead and start graphing the cosine. Now let's remember something. The first step is to find the amplitude. The amplitude is going to be given by the number that is multiplying the function. In this case, there's just a 1 right here. So the absolute value of 1 is just 1. Now the period is always 2 pi divided by the value that is next to the x. In this case, I only have a 1, so my period is just going to be 2 pi. Let's also remember that the domain of the cosine is always all real numbers. And the range is actually given by the amplitude. Well, the range is going to be from negative 1 to 1. And once we graph it, you're going to see all this. So let's start. The first step is to go ahead and do your values for x and y. Well, look how easy. I'm going to do 0 and then pi over 2, pi, and 3 pi over 2. So let's do it. 0, pi over 2, then pi, 3 pi over 2, and finally 2 pi. Awesome. Now, remember, the unit circle has the x and the y. The cosine is what I care, so I am only going to care about the x values because those are the ones that will give me the graph. So let's do. With 0, then I'm going to have here 1. With pi over 2, I'm going to have 0. With pi, I'm going to have negative 1. And then 3 pi over 2, I'm going to have 0. And finally, with 2 pi, I'm going to have 1 again. Awesome. Let's go ahead and graph the cosine. Now, remember, this is y and this is x. The period is 2 pi, so I'm going from 0 to 2 pi. And let's do it. So x equals 0, y 1. So I have 1 here and then negative 1. Let's also remember the amplitude is going to give me the lowest and the highest value the cosine is going to have. So let's start. I have 0, pi over 2. Then I have pi. Then I have 3 pi over 2. So let's graph it. 0, 1. So my first point starts here. And then I have pi over 2, 0, so the other point goes here. Pi, negative 1, right here. 3 pi over 2, 0. And finally 2 pi, 1. And look at this. We go and we graph our cosine. And then you can repeat it over and over with the periods. And that's it. That's how easy it is to graph the cosine. Please don't forget to watch our other videos. Also remember, you can Skype with us. And also, thanks so much for learning.